rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
We have a very special program today entitled The Miracle Called End Time. We're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the founding of Endtime Ministries. It all began 1986. We started with nothing but a vision 30 years ago. Today, Endtime Magazine is the most widely circulated prophecy magazine in the world. Our End of the Age television and radio program is heard around the world on many networks and on the internet. We now have the Jerusalem Prophecy College in downtown Jerusalem, which is also available to the entire world online. Joining me for this special program are some of the people that's made it happen. First of all, my son-in-law, Dave Robbins, that all of you know. In addition to that, his wife and my daughter, Jana Robbins, and last but certainly not least, my own bride of 51 years. This is my wife, Judy, and she's been with me every step of the way. We've seen miracle after miracle. It has been amazing. Now, we felt like you should share with the absolute miracles God has performed over the past 30 years here at End Time. Okay, Dave, Jana, Judy, let's just get started. We're going to tell the story today of what God has done. He's not done either.
No.
The best is yet to come.
No.
The most important is yet to come. But it has been amazing because it has truly been miraculous.
Right.
So Dave, sort of just take the lead here and let's tell the story of what God has done at Endtime Ministries.
You know, Dad, I cannot tell you how long it's been since I wanted to do this program. It's very special to my heart. I've seen so many miracles over the years. I've shared those stories with so many people, and it's really enriched my life. And I know I get calls from people all over the world how it's enriched their lives as well. And so to think of something miraculous, a miraculous event, a lot of people have never seen anything like that, but we live our lives in that world. And I know a lot of people love this ministry because of that fact. They know that you're true blue and that you've had miracles happen in their life, in your life, and they look forward to having something like that happen in their life as well someday. So in telling the story of Endtime Ministries, let's start all the way back at the very beginning. How did it all begin?
You know, Dave, I was in high school. I was taking all the college required courses. I was taking physics and chemistry and biology and geometry and trigonometry, all the things. So I was mixing with the thinkers, so to speak. And about that time, Time Magazine came out with a special edition. On the front it said, God is dead. I didn't even know he'd been sick. And here they are telling me that God is dead. Well, I didn't, of course, pay attention to it. I knew better because even as a teenager, I had wonderful parents. They made sure I was in a wonderful revival atmosphere, and I had seen many great things from God. So I really walked with God, and I loved to witness to my fellow classmates. Well, it really sort of threw me back when I started witnessing to a young man one day, and I said something about God, and he said, I don't believe in God. I said, well, the Bible says this, this, this. He says, I don't believe the Bible. I thought, oh my goodness. How do you witness to a person who doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in the Bible? Where in the world do you start? And it was somewhere during that time that it sort of dawned on me that if I could take the prophecies of the Bible, I was somewhat familiar with the prophecies, but didn't know them very well. It was still pretty much of a mystery to me. But if I could take the prophecies and prove, I'm talking about prophecies given 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, and prove that they're coming to pass accurately and in detail right now. I could prove the Bible is true. Not only that, the Bible's supernatural.
Right.
And then it will automatically follow there's a God because the Bible's full of the information. If you've got a supernatural book that you can prove is supernatural, and it tells you there is a God and tells you all the details about him,
Right.
now you've got a foundation to work with. So that is what originally drew me to Bible prophecy, because I didn't even know the scripture at the time, but Jesus said, I learned this later on, Jesus said, I tell you these things before they come to pass, so that when they do come to pass, you might believe. Well, that's just what I was doing. I was teaching the prophecies and then telling people, you know, when they saw them come to pass. Now you've got a basis for your faith. You don't have to just have blind faith. Blind faith is really a bad thing. That's what causes people to follow Jimmy Jones and Adolf Hitler. Jesus never asked us to have blind faith. He simply said, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, but these are they that testify of me. Well, anyway, so that's sort of where it all began. However, there was a young lady came into my life that upset all my plans. I was planning on staying single till I was at least 25. I was going to go out and evangelize. I could give myself totally to prayer and all that. But I met this girl from Bloomington, Indiana, named Judy. Well, as soon as I met her, just within a few days, I thought, she's not like all the rest. I got a feeling that I better watch what I'm doing here, because this may be my destiny. Well, I don't have time to tell the whole story. It's an interesting story. Matter of fact, if I tell it with all the color I normally tell it with, I might get interrupted. But anyway, we went together for a while, and I went as slow as I could because I was pretty young when we started going together. But finally, I knew it was right that for us to get married, and we did. We got married in 1965. Well, I was working at the Insurance Company of North America at the time as an internal auditor, but all of a sudden God starts eating on me to go evangelize. Now, I was happier than I'd ever been in my life, and miserable at the same time, if you can understand that. I was so much in love, and I had the girl of my dreams, and yet I had this gnawing. You got to quit your job. You got to go evangelize. Now, I was 19 years of age, just 2 months away from being 20. And so I made God a promise. I said, okay, God, if you want me to do this, you give me one revival, I'll quit my job and we'll take the plunge. Well, I got this man called me, never asked me to preach for him before. I wasn't out there preaching much. He called me and said, would you come up and preach over the weekend? We went up, preached over the weekend. He said, would you come back and hold me a revival? I said, yes, give me 2 weeks. I went back home. I gave my 2 weeks notice at my job. And then we put everything we owned, which wasn't much, in a storage place, turned in a notice for our apartment, and we got in our 61 Rambler American. Now, if you don't believe that's a fancy car, you've never seen one. It's like 2 Matchboxes, big one on the bottom, smaller one on the top. Right. Anyway, Judy and I got in the car and we headed out for our first revival. We are now full-time evangelists, and we got one revival scheduled. Well, now, it was during this time I couldn't shake this hunger for prophecy. Right. And it's about that time that Dad had a preacher preaching for him, and he was a powerful, powerful man of God, one of the most powerful men I'd ever been around. But he preaches on prophecy one night and preaches that the 4 beasts of Revelation 4 are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I said, what? But he didn't give any proof. No proof, just said it. Like, I say it, you should believe it. Well, I wasn't exactly turned that way, because in school they taught me in geometry, you prove everything step by step by step by step. And I was sort of an inquiring mind like that. So I began to dig. Well, I ended up reading the book of Revelation through 19 times. Now, I'm just brand new married. And here I am, I read the book of Revelation through 19 times in 30 days. And when I first started, it was like the book of Revelation was succotash. You know, I mean, you got beast, and you got women riding on the backs of beasts, and you got horses, and you got beasts with 10 horns, you got beasts with no horns. And I was trying to say, what in the world is all this? But I knew that was God's word. I knew that much.
Right.
And I knew God put it in there for someone to understand. And I was so hungry to understand it. So I began to search.
Right.
So, and then for the next 8 years, Judy and I held revivals around the country, and God blessed. It was amazing because before that revival was over, I got a call from someone else.
Right.
And when that one was over, I got a call from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that went on for the next 8 years until the last year I was evangelizing. I could only hold 6 or 8 revivals a year. We got 35 invitations that year. I mean, I had more places to preach.
Yeah.
God just blessed us with wonderful blessings. Mm-hmm. And of course, while we were evangelizing, I saw miracle after miracle, people getting saved, their lives being straightened out. It was a wonderful school for me.
Yeah.
At the same time, I watched God move. Well, during all this time, I would study during the day and preach at night. And we had real revivals back in those days. I'm talking about 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday, and twice on Sunday. So here I am, just going on 20 years of age, and I've got to preach 7 times a week. There are veteran preachers
Right.
that wouldn't want to face that kind of a schedule. So I'm over at the church every day on my face begging God, what do I preach tonight? And he would always give me a message, and I would get up and preach, and I didn't even know why it worked, but it did because God told me what to do. I did it, right. And half the time I was operating blind. I didn't even know why it was working. Anyway, so that's the way it all began.
So at some point, in studying all these beasts and 10 horns and horses and all that, something had to click. So in heading into not knowing what God was going to do to you eventually, what was your first big prophetic discovery? What really got you going? Just boom, it clicked.
I believe we were in Starks, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And Starks is a little teeny town of about 300, 350, but they had a big church of about 500. Anyway, by then, Judy and I had a trailer. It was 8 feet wide and 29 feet long, and that's the outside dimensions. And that included bathtub, bed, sofa, sink, refrigerator, closets. So really, we had a path, is what
Sure.
we had. But we were so happy because we knew we were in the will of God. Well, so we were there at Starks, and I would go over to the church to pray. And by then, we had one child. Carla, our oldest, and I would go over to the church to pray, and I would open the Bible, and I would read the prophecies, and I would pray. And I remember in particular laying in the pastor's office on my stomach with my Bible open under my face, mm-hmm. and I was reading Daniel 7, where there's 4 beasts, a lion with eagle's wings, a bear, a leopard, and I didn't know what it was. And I had read a commentary that said the lion was Babylon, the bear was Media Persia, the leopard was Greece, the 10-horned king was Rome. Mm-hmm. But then I read the next chapter, and there's a ram fighting with a he-goat there, and it says the ram is Media Persia, and the he-goat is Greece. So the commentary said that the lion was Babylon, the ram was Media Persia, and the leopard was Greece. But in the Bible it says the ram, let me see if I'm saying this right. They say the lion was Great Britain. No. I'm getting all tangled up here. They said the lion is Babylon, the bear is Media Persia, right. The leopard was Greece. But I get over in the next chapter, and there's a ram fighting with a he-goat, and it said the ram was Media Persia, right. And the he-goat was Greece. And I said, wait, the commentary says the bear is Media Persia, and the leopard is Greece, but the Bible says. Well, I had to decide whether I'm going to believe the Bible or the commentaries. Yeah. I've been having to abide by that decision ever since. Anyway, yep. That's what happened. And so when I realized this was wrong, even though all the commentaries said it, mm-hmm. I thought, well, I wonder what these are. So I went back and found out that all the beasts of Daniel 7 had to be on the earth at the time of the second coming. And I thought, whoa, because it says so in the context. Mm-hmm. So if all these... And it says there, the beasts are nations. You don't have to guess. It says right there, no. the 4 beasts are, the 4th beast will be the 4th kingdom or nation on the earth. So I said, okay, the beasts are nations, and they all have to be on the earth at the time of the second coming. Now I started getting excited because I thought, if I can prove they're on the earth right now, then I can prove that we're in the era of the second coming.
Right.
But could I do it? So I went back and I thought, lion. Why does God use these beasts? Lion, bear, leopard, eagle. So I just decided one day to look up the word lion in the dictionary. I went to Webster's Third International Dictionary, opened it up to lion. It said, the symbol of a country, Great Britain. I said, this is too easy. And I thought, could it be? And then I went to the next beast, and the next one was a bear, and I knew that there's a major nation today whose symbol is the bear, Russia. Well, then I looked back at the lion again, and I saw the lion had eagle's wings. Well, now I knew there was a nation whose symbol was the eagle. That one was the easiest of all because it's on the back of my dollar bill. And the eagle's wings were growing out of the lion. Now, if Great Britain's the lion and the eagle's wings grew out of the lion, where did America come from? I knew that much. We came out of Great Britain, our mother country. And then the prophecy said, I watched till the wings were plucked, and it was made stand up on the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Declaration of Independence. I'll never forget the day I left praying and studying and went over to the trader where Judy was. I said, babe, I think I found the United States in the Bible today. So I opened it up to Daniel 7. I mean, us two very young people. Yeah. And I showed her, and she said, boy, it looks like it, doesn't it? Now, that wasn't a big confirmation because I was pretty well able to convince her, whatever. I convinced her to marry me after all. Right. So I was pretty well able to talk her into things. Anyway, but she said, it looks like it doesn't. By the way, since that time, she's my #1 proofreader. I always pass stuff by her before I do anybody else because guess what? I hate to tell you this, but she'll tell me the truth, even when I'm wrong. So anyway, so that was the first big break. Yeah. When I saw the United States in the Bible, and then after that I saw the 4 horsemen, the apocalypse, and God helped me to understand what they were. And it was so clear, it was unmistakable. And then one thing after another started happening. Right. And I mean, the revelations were coming so fast, I got used to it. I mean, it was just common. I was learning new things all the time, and they were so accurate and so real. And then one day it dried up. Right. And I said, God, I went almost a year, nothing. I said, God, what's the deal? I thought maybe I'd backslid. I said, God, what's the deal? You're not showing me anything anymore. And it's like he spoke to me and said, I'm not going to show you anything else. Yep. Because I didn't show you this just so you can sit around with your thumbs on the lapel saying I know more than the average person does. I showed you this to share with people because the world needs to know what we're talking about here. Right. Well, that led me to another huge project.
Exactly. The next, I know which project you're going to talk about next, and it was the year that I graduated high school, 1986. And this next project is the very reason we're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. It's the writing of your first book. So I think everybody is going to want to know the details of what went in behind the very first project because it's where everything really came together, and it's an unbelievable story. So,
well, before I tell everybody that, I want to tell everyone something else. This is our 30th anniversary. So what we'd like all of you to do out there is, if you're not a partner with Endtime Ministries yet, for everyone that will become a partner for $30 a month, we're going to give you a very special gift. And Jana, why don't you tell people, you know more about this than I do actually. Tell us about it.
This is the documentary that we created showing how we produce the Understanding the End Time series, which is the foundational series of the ministry. It has 14 lessons that give a person that knows nothing about prophecy a very good foundation on what we teach on this. And it is a 28-minute documentary on how it was made, the workings behind the scenes. And for anyone that wants to become a partner for $30 a month, or if you'd like to give a one-time gift of $30, this can be yours for free. But it's an awesome inner workings of how we created our foundational prophecy series, which is originally was Understanding the End Time Level 1, and in 2010 we recreated it to just Understanding the End Time.
Okay, now one more thing I want to add. If you're already a partner and you would raise your partnership $30 a month, of course, you get this free gift as well. Listen, partners, you're already so wonderful. But we just thought, since this is the 30th year, I mean, I can't believe it. I'm not even hardly that old. Well,
You
I'm
have
stretching
a
that.
grandson that was 29 today. so.
Okay, that is true. Well, anyway, if you'd like to have this, give us a call. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-ENDTIME, 1-800-363-8463. And why not celebrate 30 years of miracles here at End Time? It has been marvelous. Okay, well, Dave, let's get back to your next question for
the
me.
The first big project that we started, 1986, we launched everything, and tell us how all that came about, because I know it's a miraculous story. It really is.
Well, I had been trying to put some of this down in a book, but there were three things I hated in school. I hated speech, I hated history, and I hated writing. I hated writing. And so now I'm trying to
Why did God call us to do this? Because those are the same three things I hated. Are we being punished or what? I don't know.
Well, I think God's trying to show us that we couldn't do it by ourselves.
I think you're right.
I think He's,
Right.
Anyway, but I knew I had to write, and I had people saying, you got to write all this stuff down, because I was teaching it.
Right.
But they were saying, you got to write this stuff down. It's not available anywhere. And I would try, and then I'd get stalled, and then I'd lay it aside for a couple of weeks, and then God would eat my lunch about it, and I'd go back and I'd do it again, but I wasn't getting anywhere. But God really turned up the pressure. I felt like I had this big foot in my back saying, you're going to get this done. You got to get this done. And I'm not showing you anything else until you do.
Right.
Well, I was starting to get a little desperate. Finally, I looked at Judy one day. I said, babe, I've got to get this book done. And the only way I know is just to get really, really desperate. I'm not saying you should do this, but this is what I did. I said, look, I made up my mind. I will not eat another bite of food until I finish this book. Well, she looked at me, and just to show you what a wonderful partner she's been, she said, I'll do it with you. We'll fast together. You write, I'll type. Now, no computers back in those days, no word processors, none of that. We were typewriter and pencil. That's what we were doing. So we went to my office. I sit at my desk. I wrote, and she was across the room, and she was typing. And we were working. And, you know, I discovered a marvelous principle during that time. The hungrier you get, the faster you will write. And I was getting hungrier and hungrier, and I was really getting serious about this writing thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in the meantime, Judy's across the room typing and pounding it out. And on the 12th day, I put the last period on the end of the last sentence. And she typed the last sentence. And she looked at me and said, let's go eat. So anyway, I don't even know what we had to eat that day, but anyway.
It was good, whatever it was.
When you fast 12 days, everything is good. Even sardines might be good. But anyway, that may be a stretch.
I don't know.
But anyway, that was when the first book came out.
Right.
Well, there was one special thing
Right.
in the book, and I had seen that the Berlin Wall was going to come down. Actually, I've got the magazine. Disregard the art here. And somehow Jane Fonda got on this magazine. It's a Life magazine, March 29th of 1968. But the thing that caught my eye, I'd gone to the bookstore that day. It was Hobart, Indiana. I'll never forget it. And I saw this article, 3.5 superpowers will rule the world. And it says, a provocative proposal by George W. Ball, former Undersecretary of State. Well, I bought the magazine because I've been studying Revelation 13, and it looked like a world government to me. But I thought, we're not even close to there being a world government. And when I see 3.5 superpowers to rule the world, I bought the magazine. And I went straight home. I read it through. I actually took it to the pulpit with me to preach from it within a day or two. Because in this magazine, he was proposing what I saw in Revelation 13, when all the powers of Daniel 7 would merge into one beast in Revelation 13. It would become the kingdom of the Antichrist. Well, in this article, George W. Ball was saying, We live in a time when there's enough nuclear weaponry to destroy all human, plant, and animal life off the earth 25 times over. Today we probably can do it 125 times over, but you only got to do it once. So I read this, and he said the only cure is for the superpowers, and he had 3.5 of them. He had the United States, the European Union, and at that time the Soviet Union, and his half power was Japan, because Japan was very strong economically. He said if these 4 powers would get together and say, okay, no more borders change. If you go to war, we're going to make you go back to right where you were, so there's nothing to gain by going to war. Right. And he said that's the way we need to do things, because right now the way we're doing things, little third-rate powers can suck the superpowers into confrontation, and we're going to destroy the world. And so he outlined 3.5 superpowers to rule the world. And I've got to tell you one thing, because in this article, he had a particular item. I think I have it marked here. The item said, division of Germany is the most dangerous of situations. And then discussing the division of Germany, because right then the Iron Curtain was going down through the middle of Germany, and the Berlin Wall was through the middle of Berlin. And in this particular article, let me see if I can find it for you, because it's so important. Listen to what he has to say. Aside from the China problem, divergent purposes with regard to Africa and Asia should be manageable, listen, because each side can afford to give elbow room to the other outside Europe, where the division that festers like a rusty knife wound must someday be healed. Well, Revelation 13, 1 through 3, it talks about this 7-headed beast, and one of those heads was wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed, and the whole world wondered after the beast. Right. And here it's talking about and I knew what those 7 heads represent. And 4 of those 7 heads represent Germany, the First Reich, Second Reich, Third Reich, and Fourth Reich.
Absolutely.
Wow, can you believe time has flown? Let me tell you one more time. If you would become a partner for $30 or add to your partnership in the amount of $30, we have this documentary on the production of Understanding End Time. We believe it is probably one of the most influential prophetic works in the world. Right. So call us right now. The number to call, 1-800-END-TIME. And next program, we'll see you.
From Here to Armageddon, a new exciting 8-lesson series to share with your friends and family. Order yours right away.
Answering many questions like, how far are we from the Battle of Armageddon? What will happen between now and then? Where are we on the timeline? Your questions answered in this exciting 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon.
Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463. Order yours right away.
Who would have thought it, that the Berlin Wall is right there in the prophecies of the Bible? I'm holding here a chunk of the Berlin Wall. A friend of mine was in Berlin the night that the wall fell, November 9, 1989. He cut a piece of the wall for himself, twice this large. He was kind enough to cut it in half. He had read my book, A Message for the President, in which I had stated 3 years before this that the Berlin Wall would come down, the 2 Germanys would be reunited, and that would be the event that would mark the beginning of the one world governmental system called the New World Order.
Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME to order The Berlin Wall in Bible Prophecy.
If your radio station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the Watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the Archives button.
For those of you that have been listening to the first half, we're going to continue this tomorrow, telling the story of Endtime Ministries. It is our 30th anniversary this year, so don't miss, because we'll be taking right up tomorrow where we're leaving off today. I do want to announce to all of you that I will be in Newport News, Virginia, this coming Saturday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday night. On Saturday evening, I'll be speaking on From Here to Armageddon. People are loving this lesson because it puts out so clear what's going to happen between today and the Battle of Armageddon. Oh, by the way, that's the name of our new series, 8 Lessons from Here to Armageddon. You can order that right now if you'd like to. 800 End Time is the number to call. So the first night on Saturday, October the 15th at 6 p.m., we'll be at the Peninsula Pentecostals, 401 Sharon Drive, Newport News. And then on Sunday morning, they've asked me just to leave script and preach. And some of you have said, we'd like for you just to preach a sermon. Well, guess what? This is the time it's going to happen, 11:15 a.m. on Sunday morning, October the 16th, again at the Peninsula Pentecostals, 404 Sharon Drive in Newport News. That's on the 16th at 11:15 a.m. And then on Sunday evening at 6:30, I will be speaking on breaking prophetic fulfillments, about 30 minutes or so, telling everybody where we are right now, what's happening like this week, and then taking your questions from the floor, and I'll be attempting to answer all those questions. So don't miss it. It's this coming Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday night. Love to see you there. Now, we're taking your calls in this segment. If you have any questions about what we discussed early in the program, please feel free to call. If you would like to have any comments, maybe God has used Endtime Ministries to be a blessing to your life. Maybe it's changed your life. I've had so many people tell me, this has changed my life forever. And I have my son-in-law, Dave Robbins, that all of you know, because he normally does our programs here on Tuesday, but his wife, Jana, my youngest daughter, and also my wife, Judy. And just before we plunge in, and by the way, if you'd like to call us, the number to call us is 877 End Time. To reach our operators, 1-800 End Time, but to reach us here on the air, 877 End Time. You can start calling right now. But, you know, Judy, we started this journey, 50 years ago or so? And it has been incredible. We started out with no kids. We ended up with 3 wonderful girls, and then they picked up husbands along the way, and all of our children are full-time in God's work. 2 of them and their husbands work here at Endtime Ministries. The other one, she and her husband are starting churches in the Detroit area. They've already started 7 churches now. They get them up to a certain level, turn them over to someone else. They've already done that with 6 of them. They're now on their 7th one, and so we're very thankful for our 3 daughters, Jana, Kara, and Carla. So we've just been incredibly blessed. Cannot tell you how blessed we are. Now, while you're dialing, if you would like to dial, there's a couple of things I'd like to mention to you, because this is a news item today. Turkish-backed rebels close in on Dabiq, Syria. You got to hear this. Now, in case you don't know, Dabiq is the town about 20 miles from Aleppo, which is where all the fighting is taking place right now. Dabiq is the town where ISIS believes that they're going to engage in a battle with the West, and when they do, the Mahdi is going to come and save them. They look at this as their battle of the Islamic battle of Armageddon. The Mahdi is going to come and save them, and when he comes, someone will be with him, Jesus. Now, they don't believe Jesus was God, but they do believe he's coming back. And they also do not believe he died on the cross. They absolutely are against that notion. And they believe that when the Mahdi comes, Jesus will come with him, and he will, in the sight of the whole world, undoubtedly on television, he will break the cross and say, there's no truth to this. All you Christians must become Islamic. And they believe that Islam will then take over the world. Well, you got to hear this. Rebel forces backed by Turkey have taken control of 14 villages in the Dabiq area. You ready for this? In the last 24 hours. Turkish tanks and warplanes are assisting rebel forces to seize control of towns and villages surrounded by the strategic town in preparation of the attack on the town of Dabiq, or to force the organization to withdraw. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported on Monday. That's just yesterday. The observatory said that rebel forces have taken control of 14 villages in the past 24 hours. Dabiq is a small northern Syrian village that is a theological heartland for Islamic State, according to one reading of ISIS doctrine. The final battle between good and evil will take place here. Listen to this. Last week, rebel forces took control of Turkmen Barre, a few kilometers east of Dabiq, with the assistance of the U.S.-led coalition. We're involved. U.S. special forces were reportedly headed towards Dabiq as early as mid-September. Now, the reason they're doing this, Dabiq is not that important militarily or strategically, but they believe if they can defeat ISIS at Dabiq, it will burst their bubble, their prophecy theory that they're using to draw fighters from all over the world, because their recruitment magazine is called the Dabiq magazine, because all Muslims know this story, that this is where the final battle is going to happen. So anyway, just wanted to bring you up to date on something that's raging while we're on the air right now. Pretty amazing that this is going on at this particular time. We live in climactic times. Okay, well listen, let's get to the phones right now. Steve is calling from Nevada. Hello, Steve. Welcome to End of the Age.
Hello. I hear there's a panel today, and they accused me that if we had something to say about how Endtime Ministries has positively influenced you. Your understanding of the end time events and how they're coming together is definitely making me aware that I need to prepare. And I wanted to share that. And I am preparing. Comment I have is the 4 sets of 7. The law requires at least 2 witnesses. There are 3 events where 4 sets of 7 occur. In those 3 events, the tabernacles of God are purged and cleansed. At the purging event that starts at Jericho, the 4 sets of 7 occur before the event. At the Hezekiah temple tabernacle purging and cleansing event, the 4 sets of 7 occur after the event. And in the book of Revelation, 4 sets of 7 take place during the purging event and are an intricate part of the purging and cleansing. The first 2 events have already happened and are now lawful petitions and witnesses before the throne of God, where God has court-ordered that the purging event of the book of Revelation come to its preordained and lawful place of fulfillment.
Steve, let me interrupt you here, because you've mentioned about the 4 sets of 7 in the book of Revelation, and a lot of people listening may not know what you're referring to. But in the book of Revelation, there's sort of like a skeletal structure. It's the backbone of the book of Revelation with a lot of other things added on. For example, there are 7 seals culminating with the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus. There are 7 trumpets also culminating at the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus. And then there are 7 thunders. Now, John was not allowed to write what the voices of the 7 thunders actually stated. And so God said, don't you write that. Well, all of us, of course, want to know. Curiosity wants to know. My wife, who's with us on the set today, she, if I ever tell her I have a secret, I can't tell her. Let me tell you, there's no rest. She's poking me right now. See, that's what I mean by that. Anyway, but there are 7 thunders. We don't know what they are, but I believe I know the last one, because the last of every 7 is the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming. I don't know what the other 6 are, but I believe God may show us yet. Anyway, then the last group of 7 is the 7 vials. Some people call them the 7 bowls. And again, they end up with the second coming and the Battle of Armageddon. So it's really amazing when we look at the book of Revelation. Steve, I've got a bunch of callers lined up, so I'm going to have to let you go. I thank you very much for your input today. But that's where we are right now. We're having a special program today in case you're just tuning in. And we're sort of having a panel here today, although I'm doing a lot of the talking, sorry to say. I don't know why that's happening. But anyway, Dave Robbins, my son-in-law, is here, my daughter Jana, my wife Judy, and they're free to speak up at any time. But we're asking you for your input. This is the 30th anniversary of Endtime Ministries, and we're celebrating because we've seen thousands and thousands of people saved. God has done incredible miracles. We're going to be telling you more about that tomorrow and the next day as time goes along. Right now, though, let's get back to the phones. Let's go now to Rhonda calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Rhonda.
Hi, Irvin. Can you hear me?
I hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank you, first of all, for everything that you do in your ministry. And I subscribe to the Endtime magazine, and I've sent that subscription to a few other folks, and actually going to subscribe my sister today. But my question is about the election this year. How do Christians, if let's say you make a list of the issues and where each candidate stands and what Jesus says about that issue, let's just say the majority of the things don't line up with what Jesus would believe, and this being a really important election cycle, as a Christian, how do you rectify in your mind who to vote for?
Rhonda, have you gotten your last edition of Endtime, the one that just arrived?
Yes, I did.
And it's got the big gorilla on the front, and it says
Yes.
big letters, Globalism. Well,
Yes.
I wrote that article, but I got up this morning, it was laying on my kitchen table, and I thought, I wonder what I wrote. I wrote it a month or so ago now. I was, you get busy and you move on. And I opened it up and I began to read the article, and I was almost stunned at what I had written because it was so pointed and so important to this present election. If there were no other issues, if we only considered one issue, globalism versus national sovereignty, should America surrender its sovereignty, renounce our Declaration of Independence, and adopt a declaration of interdependence like much of the world wants us to do? If there is one of our candidates that believes in globalism, no borders, everybody join together, come one, come all, people come by the thousands, don't worry about being legal or illegal because they don't want there to be national sovereignty anymore. Now, the other person, as flawed as that person may be, is dead set against globalism. The Bible prophesies a one world government for the very near future, and the Bible teaches the Antichrist is going to lead that world government. We've got to stay out of that government no matter what. We'll be back in just a moment taking more of your calls. You're listening to End of the Age.
Take your understanding of the end time to a new level with our Outlines and Quizzes workbook. This workbook accompanies our Understanding the End Time 14 lesson series. As you watch each lesson, follow along with the outlines, then take a quiz and check your answers at the end. These are all contained in one convenient workbook so you can study as well as teach prophecy wherever you go. Use it as a study guide to cement main points and scriptures that Irvin teaches in each lesson. It's also a great tool if you host an End Time Bible study. Help your group solidify what they're learning by getting a copy for each person to follow along with the video and then to take home and study on their own. Get the workbook by calling 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com and be ready to instruct many as the scripture says.
Before we come back to our callers, and we're going to try to get to all of you, so keep your questions pretty much to the point. We'll try to do the same with our answers. But right now, I want Jana to tell you about our newest series just out a couple of weeks ago. Jana.
It's From Here to Armageddon. It's 8 lessons in this series, and it's talking about everything that's going to happen between now and when the Battle of Armageddon culminates. one thing that's a great bonus for this series is it's got an awesome timeline that tells you where we're at now, all the way to the very end of when the Lord's come back and we fight the Battle of Armageddon and defeat the United Nations armies. So this is great. We watched lesson 1 last night in our Bible study. The people loved it, and it looked great. It gives you up-to-date, cutting-edge, latest and greatest of what's going on in the world today and how it's all relating with the Bible prophecy. So we have it available. Call 1-800-ENDTIME and you can get your copy today.
Now, the series, we do an overview, and like Janice said, we've got this marvelous timeline, and it tells you, it labels what's going to happen in what order, all the way to the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming. I love it because it's so clear, because the scriptures are so clear. So anyway, if you're interested, like Janice said, just give us a call, 1-800-END-TIME. Now, we want to get right back to our phones because we've got a full bank of callers. Let's go now to Alan. Alan's calling from right here in Texas, a wonderful friend of Endtime Ministries, by the way. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Hey, guys. I just wanted to call and celebrate your 30th with you and just say what a blessing you've been to me and my family, and just want all the listeners to know that, you guys baptized me. You and Dave prayed me through the Holy Ghost. Judy's been like a mother to me. You guys have just had me in your home, and you got more kids than what you got there.
Well, Alan, we thank you so much, and you are our family, and we have so many wonderful memories together. We rejoice in what God has done in you and Debbie's life, and we sure appreciate your comments today, and also your incredible and faithful support. We really thank you, and always love getting together with you.
We love you guys.
I love you too, Alan. Lord bless you. Now, let's go now. I see Doug Norvell is calling, and he's from right here in Texas as well. Hello, Doug.
Hey, I just wanted to do what Alan was doing there and say thank you to you guys for everything y'all done for me and my family. And, I started listening a long time ago to politics and religion on the radio, and got saved through the Bible lessons that Dave was having there at the studio. And just like Alan, I've been baptized in Jesus' name and filled with the Holy Ghost. And, now I'm teaching a Bible study up there. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything that y'all have done for me and for my family. I love you guys also.
Thank you so much, Doug. And Doug and Tina both were baptized. And now then Tina is over our conferences. She works full-time here at the ministry. Mm-hmm. And Doug is a wonderful friend of ours. He helps out every way he can. And he's conducted one of our Bible studies each Thursday night here at the ministry. So you can see what God has done, just people coming, like people wanting to know the truth, wanting to be saved, and so we just appreciate it so very much. I want to go right now to Helen. Helen is calling from Quebec. Hello, Helen. Thanks for calling.
Yes, hello, Mr. Baxter?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, and thank you very much for everything you do. I appreciate very much you and your team is doing for all of us. I want to ask a simple question. You mention very often about the Jews who should come out from Europe. I was thinking maybe all the Christians who understand the prophecy as you teach this prophecy, shouldn't they be told to come out of Europe also?
Yeah, Helen, actually, you're right, and I think we've mentioned it sometimes. We probably haven't emphasized it enough, but yes, you're absolutely right, because things are going to get terrible in Europe. The Bible teaches that Europe will be the power base of the Antichrist and the false prophet, and that's the reason that it is going to, people are going to have to follow God. I've talked to some people that are there in Europe, and they know it's coming. Their eyes are wide open, but they say, I'm not leaving. They may kill me before it's over with, but I've got a work to do. God has called me to minister to people here. I had a missionary say that to me, and I was amazed, and also my admiration went through the roof about that man. So anyway, I think everybody has to be led by God in the times that are just ahead. The Bible says as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. And it's going to be important for all of us, no matter where we live. We need to walk close enough to God to be Spirit-led. But I think your perception is exactly right, Helen, and I thank you for mentioning that today.
Yes, and because I have a friend who are Christian and they live in not far from Brussels in Belgium. Another one live in Switzerland, and another couple live in France. So and they are Christian. Maybe they don't know about your prophecy, but I intend to let them know, and it will be their decision afterwards. You see.
Yes.
So thank you very much for confirming what I was thinking, and I ask that God bless you all.
Well, thank you very much, Helen. And wow, what a good thing you're saying therein, that if you got friends in Europe or anywhere in the world, share these prophecies with them because they need them just as bad as all of us need them. I want to go now to Joseph calling from Florida. Hello, Joseph. What's on your mind today?
Hello, Pastor. First off, congratulations on the anniversary. I'd like to know, we really appreciate Dave, the lessons he gives sometimes during the week, and I'd like to know if he could get more involved. Not that we're ever tiring of you, but it's very educational what he does, and I was thinking maybe if he could even do a pre-recorded show and play it over the weekend. He's just been very helpful and very appreciated.
Well,
I do thank you for that, Joseph. I'd like to be more involved. I'm actually fixing to try to take as much responsibility from Irvin as much as I can. In the fact that I'm fixing to go out and start doing prophecy conferences as well, and a lot of different things. And one of the things he's pushing me to do, I don't know if everybody knows this, but everything I do here is totally out of my comfort zone. Believe me, when in public speaking, all these different things, and it's like God has said, "Okay, Dave, everything you don't like to do, I'm going to ask you to do." And it's kind of comical almost around here, because everybody that knows me, that everything I do here at the ministry is out of my comfort zone. But to speak to what you're saying, I'd love to. I teach 2 Bible studies around here through the week during the evenings, and I'm on the radio and the editor of Endtime Magazine. But I'd like to do what you're saying. We'll just have to see. God's in control of all of this, and whatever He calls me to do, I'd love to do. But I do thank you for the compliment, and everybody out there. They've been so gracious to all of us as a family over the years. And God called us into this. I worked construction for 20 years, and God miraculously called me into this ministry. And so I'm happy to do anything I can do to help somebody. Send them to a church. I've sent people to churches all over the world that have called in here. And so whatever I could do to further the kingdom, that's what I want to do. Whatever God's will is, I'm there.
Yep. Hey,
Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Joseph.
Thanks, Joseph.
We really do appreciate it. And as Dave has mentioned here, we are launching him into new territory right now, in that he's going to start holding conferences. I do this almost every week, but we've got more requests than I can get to. And he now has mastered this material. He knows it very, very well, and we really appreciate his dedication. You may not know this, but Dave was in a family that owned a large plastic operation in Richmond, Indiana. When I asked him to come and work for us, and he left that behind, he and his brother would have been co-owners, but unfortunately, his brother Doug was killed in an automobile accident, and so Dave would be the owner of that property. Apparently, Dave might be worth several $1 million. I don't know for sure, but I'm glad he didn't take that road because I got a feeling that this will end up being a much better road. I don't think he's ever going to become a millionaire here at Endtime Ministries, but he will be a millionaire when he gets on the other side. Right. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Let's get on to our next caller, and we're going to move quickly now. Let's go to Josh, calling from right here in Indiana. Hello, Josh.
Hey, I just happened to flip on the radio today and hear it was your 30th anniversary, so a way to go and keep up the good work. And the reason I'm calling is because your ministry led me to get baptized. I took my 4 children this past Sunday and we all got full submersion baptized. And I just can't thank you enough. I got cold feet a couple times. Actually, Dave Robbins sent me to a church, and I got cold feet and didn't follow through. And then it just, when all this prophecy happening and the writing's never been clearer on the wall, I wanted to add my 2 cents to your 30th anniversary because I know where I'm going when it's all said and done. And thank you very much, and keep up the hard work, guys.
Josh, thank you so much. Yeah. And wow, congratulations to you, because there's no greater event in the world than to be baptized.
I agree. I totally feel so great. I mean, it's like you just said about he's going to be a millionaire on the other side. It's like that's how I'm equating him. I'm a pilgrim on a journey, and my riches wait me on the other side.
Right.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Now, just to make sure everyone understands what we're doing here, and we'll be back here tomorrow because we barely scratched the surface of telling the events. We'll be back right here tomorrow for this, so don't miss it. But anyway, I do want to say to you today that we have a special promotion to celebrate our 30th anniversary as a ministry. We have produced a documentary telling how Understand the End Time was produced. And this has now gone all over the world. It's in 8 languages. Originally it was in English. We found out that less than 30% of the world could understand English. And we thought, wait, this is a message for the whole world. So we asked people to contribute, and all of you did. It cost us $200,000, but we put this in the 8 major languages of the world, and now then, over 90% of the world can understand the message. When you buy your own copy of Understand the End Time, I don't have a copy of that here right now, but anyway, when you buy your own copy, you can choose which language you listen in, the 6 languages of the UN, plus Hebrew, plus Italian, and we have people all over the world that are using this for their Bible colleges, people in France, people in Russia, all over the world. Azerbaijan, I just found out about, they're using this. Hebrew, they're using it in Israel, and so this has been a great work. So anyway, the documentary tells you how it all came to pass. And for anyone that will become a partner for $30 in commemoration of our 30th anniversary, we will give this to you as a gift of appreciation. And also, if you'd like to up your partnership, if you're already a partner, but you'd like to up it by $30, again, we'll give you this. So please call us, let us know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this, but I'm not going to be able to take any more calls today. But please call back tomorrow. We'll have more time. The first half, we will be talking more about the origins and about the miracles of Endtime Ministries. But then the second half of our program again tomorrow, we will be talking again, and hopefully I won't quite dominate the conversation as much as I have today. But anyway, this is unscripted. We're just pouring our hearts out to you. But I want to say to all of you out there, this latest magazine that we've done, if you're not a subscriber to Endtime Magazine, please become a subscriber. This one article, Globalism, the 800-pound gorilla in the living room, you need to read this article. Pick up your phone right now. Call us 800-END-TIME, 800-363-8463. Become a subscriber today. They'll get this edition right out to you. You need it before the election. Give us a call, 800-END-TIME.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.